This is our trip from Rowville to Nancy. And we start off with, we were green banking here in Rowville, where we stopped for the night. No facilities or anything. You can see the bollard at the bow there. We just tie on and can stay there. It's nice and quiet, no facilities, water, power, etc. But it's a great little spot to stop. You can see the lock ahead that we want to go through and the red light. That means that the lock's not ready yet, so we can't enter, and you can't anyway, the gate's closed. And we need to notify the lock that we want to come through. And these locks are all automated. So the funny thing is, I have to walk all the way back down the canal to where the signal box is. And we are given a device from the VNF, which we picked up at Corre, so about 2 weeks ago. And we use that on all of the locks to signal that we want to enter the lock. So while Tony's prepping the boat, I stroll down with my little trusty device you just saw, and I have to walk until the signal receiver receives the signal. Some of them you can do about 200 metres away. Some of them you almost have to be on it before it receives the signal. I don't know why. And again, some of them are this far back from the lock, which is great because by the time the signal's received and you get to the gate, it's usually ready for you to enter. But some of them are actually right on the lock gate, which is hard because you then have to stop and hold position while you wait for the gate to prepare. So you can see now that's the receiver box on the side there, and I need to just keep walking and holding that green button down until it actually reacts to the signal. And you just get as close as you need to get, and then once it does, the light at the bottom of the traffic light will flash red and green. So that's telling you the lock's ready, being prepared for you to enter. When you're allowed to go in, the red light will go out and you'll just have one single green. So I now just make my way back to the boat, help Tony continue to untie the lines and prep the boat ready to go. So try and get into the middle of the canal and in a good position, nice straight line to enter once the light's green. And so it's a little bit of an interesting journey when you have to run back and do that. But we have time and he can just sit there and wait while we're doing that. And you can see it's a really nice spot, lots of shade. So this is then in the lock, and we've come in, we tie up at the bow and the stern there. This is going downstream, so really easy to get the lines on and quite gentle to go down. And you'll see there the blue and the red rods. The blue rod, when you go in, you tie up. Once you tie it up, you kind of push that up and there's an alarm that signals and that tells you that it's received and the lock's going to now start to empty and you'll go down. The red one is if there's an accident and that notifies the VNF and it'll actually stop the lock, whatever's happening. So if it's filling, emptying, whatever, it will just completely stop. And then the VNF will arrive and see what the issue is. So we just kind of cruise down, wait for the lock to empty and wait for the gates to open. So we just sit here and enjoy the moment. We had an issue with the lock where we had to go and get the Ecclusier and notify him because the receiver wasn't working. So I actually had to get off the boat. Tony had to get me to the edge and I jumped off, and he's now just holding position while I'm up at the lock with the Ecclusier and waiting for the lock to be able to be entered. So Tony's going to have to come in on his own. Normally there's two of us for the lines, but he's going to throw them up to me. So we're actually going upstream in this lock. These are the final ones coming into Nancy. So you go down, up, down, up. So it's quite an interesting journey. And then Tony's now entering the lock, and you can see him gliding in. He's got great control of the boat. And I'm just chatting to the Ecclusier. Turns out the reason that the lock wasn't receiving the signal was the lock behind us, immediately behind us, a little sailboat got their stern caught in the gate and sank in the lock. So there was an emergency and our lock didn't respond because of the emergency. So we just sat there and waited. So Tony's now drifting in and coming into the lock, and you can see the difference. It's about 3 metres that will change. And there's a snake in the lock. So we haven't escaped snakes coming to France. And I don't know what type this is. They're little vipers, I think, but you can see it heading towards the boat. We think it got out through the back gate. And now the lock's just filling while we're in it. So these are harder because you're throwing the line up onto the bollard, but you can't always see them. And it can be awkward from the wheelhouse to throw the line up. But Nancy has been great and we've arrived. We went to dinner in a great restaurant with all this crazy stuff stuck all over it. It reminded me of Tharon in Sydney, if anybody's ever been there and remembers it. But Nancy's known for its Art Deco and Art Nouveau history. This is the School of Art Deco. This is, of course, snails, which we had for dinner at this lovely restaurant, which is an old brewery, the Excelsior, so that was beautiful on the interior. And then we went for a stroll through Stanislas Square and had a look around at that, and lots of gold, probably something Trump would appreciate. But a really beautiful square and a really nice evening out and strolling back. This was about 10 o'clock at night, so you can see, it's still pretty easy to see. We're in the summer here, so we're having a great time in Nantes.